We're back with the big deal. I'm Errol Lewis. It has been a little over a month since President Biden announced an executive action to crack down on illegal crossings at the southern border. And the strategy appears to be working, according to data from the Department of Homeland Security, which is reporting a stark decline in border encounters. In the month of June, about 84,000 migrants reportedly crossed into the U.S. from Mexico. That is a decline of almost 30% from the prior month of May. And it marked the lowest monthly number in 3 years, ever since Biden took office in January of 2021. Spectrum News border reporter John Salazar takes a closer look at that drop in this report.
To protect America as a land that welcomes immigrants, we must first secure the border.
Under mounting political pressure and sagging polls on the issue of border security, early last month, President Joe Biden issued an executive order that broadly restricts asylum eligibility for migrants who cross the southern border or navigate southern coastal borders without authorization. Those caught coming illegally are immediately detained, yet can make a case for asylum, but the standard to stay is higher under new Biden rules. Migration experts are paying attention.
That's right. The higher screening standards and the restrictions on access to asylum could mean that fewer people end up being able to apply for asylum in the first place. And even if they are able to apply, fewer people will be granted asylum.
Together with the illegal entry ban and tightened asylum screenings, new rules push to resolve immigration cases quicker through a new recent arrivals docket.
The total number of people the Biden administration is sending out of the United States is approaching these historic levels of the Bush and Clinton administrations.
With this most recent action, it's really hard to decipher between what Biden just did and what Trump had been trying to do.
This is Erin Hughes. Her non-government organization aids asylum seekers stuck in Mexico, waiting for legal permission to enter the U.S.
There are hundreds of people that need all of this stuff.
Hughes says Biden's new border rules on asylum seekers is leading to an increase of people living in encampments or shelters like these, just south of the U.S. border.
I'm really nervous as the election continues. I just feel like the asylum seekers become a pawn.
4 weeks after new rules were announced, DHS reported a significant reduction of encounters at the southwest border. Border Patrol's 7-day encounter average decreased more than 40% to under 2,400 encounters per day.
John Salazar joins me now from along the border in Hidalgo, Texas, with more. And John, great to see you. We saw a little glimpse in your story about the effects of this new policy at the border, with more encampments being set up around ports of entry, especially south of our border. What else are you seeing there on the front lines?
Yeah. Well, Errol, the biggest thing that stands out to me is that there's a small port of entry about 20 miles south of where I'm at here in McAllen, in the small town of Progreso, Texas. It's just a small little tourist spot where people go over to Mexico and they might hang out for the day. They might get breakfast, lunch, maybe some medicine, buy some trinkets for the family. But there are asylum seekers and migrants now stacked on that international bridge, and that's a new phenomenon. So the ports of entries are being utilized, the larger ones are being utilized by those who have appointments. And so now some of these people who do not have appointments, not willing to gamble and cross without permission, are stacking up the good old-fashioned way as they used to do it here on the border and wait until Customs and Border Protection could process these people. Now, I did reach out to Customs and Border Protection to ask them how long this had been happening. They ignored my emails and they did not provide me an interview. But I can tell you, just by me looking at the data and looking at the people that were now stacked literally on the bridge, Errol, they've been doing this since at least December.
Okay, so now this border policy is playing a role here, and those changes are really quite startling. But I understand the number of border crossings was already falling. What else is contributing to the lower number of people trying to cross over?
Well, Errol, we speak to these humanitarians who are working with these populations on both sides of the border, as the woman that we profiled in this story, and they're telling me, they're hearing from migrants and asylum seekers that they are unwilling to take the risk and cross illegally. And we're talking about populations that may not have a valid claim to set foot in the United States, and not all people who do cross illegally immediately are going to be deported. There is a process where they do go before a judge, but more and more these days, ever since some of those rules tightened up back at the end of January, when we saw a relationship begin to build in Mexico, we're now seeing those populations drop because people are getting the message and realizing they may not get to stay in the country.
Okay. And of course, the government of Mexico is also assisting in this crackdown, right? I mean, what is the Biden administration's relationship to the Mexican government on this?
We're talking about big deal dollars here. We're talking billions of dollars that Homeland Security has earmarked for the government of Mexico as well as Central America to help out with all the illegal migration that we've been witnessing just about daily for the last several years. So Mexico, ever since December, Anthony Blinken had gone down to Mexico City, met with the Mexican president, and they talked about what Mexico could do to tighten the reins on all this traffic that's making their way through the country. And those numbers, soon after that December meeting, began to drop. And then we saw what Biden did a little over a month ago.
Okay. Great reporting as always. Thank you very much, John. We're going to take a break now, and when we come back, we are just days away from the start of the Republican National Convention in Wisconsin. We're on the ground there, and we'll bring you a preview from Milwaukee coming up next. Stay with us. Thank you for watching our YouTube channel. Let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth political coverage, and click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV to learn more about the candidates, where they stand on the issues, and more. We'll see you then.